for tuning in. You're locked into another edition of the Ravens Voice for December 7th. This is Zealous here, co-hosting with Tierson.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, hope you're all doing well on preparing for the holidays, Christmas season, all that good stuff's on the way. But we still have plenty of Armored Core to talk about in the meantime. Going into that, as if some of you have checked out the just synopsis, it's kind of changed on and off. We've had, for this week, we're not only going to be talking a little bit about the patches and some of the changes that have happened, from JP side for AC, but just talking about a little bit what that means for the game, as well as recent events we've had in the community, especially that design contest that's gone down recently. So a number of things slated. I think it's going to be fun to go through, but I think the key is going to be just, keeping engaged with these topics as much as we can coming into Christmas season. I know a lot of people kind of parry off, people travel, people have places to go and plenty of places to be, but hopefully a lot of you are still looking for armored news during that time, and that's what we're going to look to provide.
And hopefully, a lot of you are staying warm. I'm looking right now. There's a huge cold front going through the country. I'm up in northern Wisconsin. It is -5 degrees, is what it feels like right now. So stay warm. Good Lord. How's it affecting you where you're at?
Yeah, it's about 20, and it dropped a little bit lower than that. It's it's at about 17, 18 here.
20. I'd be sunbathing at 20.
Yeah, everything. It's funny. In the southern regions, a lot of people freak out over this kind of thing. Especially in the Tennessee area and things like that. I know it's not a big deal for those of you who are Northerners. I spent most of my life in the Midwest, so you hear that kind. You're looking more out for the negative weather. The snow trucks and all that stuff. But I'm all right. What we have here, there's no blizzard, there's no crazy hailstorms and all that good stuff. It's fine, more than bearable.
It's too cold to snow right now. We had snow earlier this week, but it got too cold. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's I guess kind of our last show of the
Yeah.
well, it's our last show of the year, kind of.
Kind of, that's another thing we definitely want to run through a bit here. Just, our upcoming schedule, how things are going to, change a bit. We, hinted at this before, but, we're going to be taking a bit of an off season here, for Christmas, for New Year. We'll be sure to have some content, on release during that time, but this'll be a bit of a vacation for a little bit.
See, I lost you there for a few seconds, so I don't know if you just mentioned this. Yeah, we're going to be doing a 5-part series, looking over the Generation 3, going from AC3 and then going to Last Raven, and those we're actually, we're going to pre-record those. We're not
Right.
live now, but we put the show out as soon as we're done with it. Um, but we're gonna put that all together and put it out over the next few weeks. But this is the last time that we'll be looking at current events for this year, and when we come back, which will be mid-January, that's when we'll start up again. We're going to retool the show a little bit, so you'll notice some differences in the show and outside, but more of a internet presence for the Ravens Voice in between that time is going to be implemented. But yeah, so this is kind of our last show of the year.
Hmm.
So and maybe some reflection is done on that when we come back. We've been doing this since what, late July, or is it August? It's been a few months now.
It has. It has. Close to into the summer season. Going into like early fall. It's just kind of shot by. I think the community's kept us more than on our toes with things to talk about. There's never a lack of topics, and even in the crazy event something is not going on in the community, you have retro and you have AC gaming to talk about all day long. So
Yeah. So, let me do the plugs real quick because we're
yeah,
not done. Did not do them, all. So let's just to remind you guys.
I save
Uh,
him.
we do have a dedicated section over on ArmoredCoreLegacy.com, the forums there. We have, like I said, dedicated section there, as well as you should go to ArmoredCoreLegacy.com and join the forums. It is the most active Armored Core forums out there right now. And as a part of that, we actually you can go to ArmoredCoreLegacy.com and you can
Hmm.
see that we're finally getting the groundwork done on the actual website part of that. We had last week we had Nana Bosho. He's the newest member of the staff, and he's going to help us with a lot of that. As Cleric got very busy, so we brought somebody else in to help with the technical website of things, and so obviously that's
Hmm.
that's moving forward, which is great. So we're going to be fleshing that out here in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, ArmoredCoreLegacy.com. Go there, go to the forum, sign up. Also, if you want to email us, that's Ravens'Voiceacl at gmail.com. and send us an email, questions, comments, what you liked, what you didn't. Send us pictures of your cat, whatever. Um, okay, so the design contest,
Yeah.
the contest that never ends at this point, which is a good thing because it should have a lot of time. There, actually, Drac did get a lot of entries on this. So, and somebody has suggested, hey, why don't you announce your choices on the show and say, hey, that's a really good idea. So let's do that.
By all means, it's funny. The first time I run over that suggestion, part of me was saying, well, the voting hasn't ended yet. Specifically, it's done on Christmas. The event's done on Christmas, and myself, there's a lot I was kind of saving for the back end there, just to take it and reflect on it all at once. But what the heck, it's out there. People are talking about it, so why not, give a little bit of perspective of what we've looked at and the way we shared on it. If you'll notice, and I'll be sure to post a link to this, or at least one of the threads that gives you a link to each division for this contest. And again, it was divided into different game releases for AC. You've got the 4 answer division, you've got the verdict day division, the one AC1 MOA division, AC2 another age, and the 3 through LR division. So I mean, plenty of categories here, plenty to look at. The one I want to take a little bit of a look at first, though, is the MOA division. It's Master of the Arena. Those of you who remember, this was the final Armored Core on PlayStation 1 before we made the jump to a new generation for PlayStation 2. To a lot of fans, this is the Hallmark Classic. I know Rara Stones and a number of others point to MOA and all the arena content in the Black Arena and the EX arenas and everything else you had in the quad arenas. Lots here and a very iconic version of AC. So just looking over some of the voting here and just for what we see and what was there, I'm just going to start right off with my number one. I got to give it to Candy Corn. Uh, this just
Candy Crush, you number one.
this just made me smile. Like I mean, I looked at the rest. I mean, that you had. I love the look. I mean, especially with the heavy bipeds we had, posted here. But Candy Corn just did it. Not just because it's a quad. I'm not promise. I'm not being
Yeah,
that
right.
biased about it. I promise. I promise. Um, it's just kind of one of those flavor of the month things. It's funny, especially coming out of Halloween and the other times like that. Late fall season where you got a lot more sweets and everything flying around. Uh, just a good goofball design that just makes you smile. And I guess what I like about it is even the arms really just give a take on like they're like gummy arms almost. Like it doesn't like they could hurt you or even do anything, but they could. So the whole thing looks edible. I don't think I've ever run into an edible AC, and I'd say I give the award to that one. So definitely gets my vote. I'm just gonna take just a second on the other two, and I want to hear yours, Tierson. My number two was the Drac, and my number three was Nelibus Kerman. I'm just gonna take.
You're gonna you're gonna have to give me the numbers on that too, otherwise I'm not. Okay, I
Yeah,
just found the track. What's the other one?
yeah. Just walking through it. So we had Candy Corn as five. You just found the Drac, and the last one was Nelibus Kerman. Now Nelibus Kerman was the first one, design one. It has the kind of rounded look to it.
Oh yeah, yeah. The okay.
And here's why. Let me peel back a bit before I get to Nelibus, and I guess talk a little bit about Drac and just what I saw in that, and I guess just part of the things I enjoyed about it. You know,
Quad. Look at that. You got three of them quads.
yeah, I wonder, right? I promise it's not consistent with some of the others, but no, I dug the Drac, not just because the name, not just because it's a quad, but this had a kind of a little bit of an old school mech warrior vibe to me. I know quads weren't like rampant in that game or anything, but with the way the back unit's set, um, I really dig that. I think the Hela design goes well. I like the way the colors coordinate. It's also a fun use of one of the more antenna base heads, which is cool. When we're usually talking about design contest, I always see a lot of the flashier helms or like the poster boy uh, heads. For example, in Nexus, the Queen head, from Evangel and stuff like that. I just like the aesthetics of it. I like the way the colors come together on it, and just the weapon layout. A lot of fun. And the reason I go to Nelvis for my three, this rounded design, we've seen this repeated, I think, in later ACs, like with the Volar series. And also, it reminds me of the intro of Project Phantasma a little bit. We had a heavy biped with a really rounded design to it, I believe, right for our cover AC. So it was a bit of a throwback checking that out, but a fun series. definitely enjoyed seeing the quads and everything else here, and props. So, what about you, Tierson?
My number one is Design 10, Top Notch Robot,
Hmm.
because just overall the color scheme works really well, but it integrates the colors of the weapons, which were colors you couldn't change until a couple gens later.
Right.
Integrates the colors of the weapons in there as well. And there's the whole, this is a design contest, and saying that he worked the whole color scheme together
Yep.
into one AC. Let's see. My next one was number six, Rainmaker, and I just thought that was just cool looking AC. And again, dig the colors. I dig just the whole frame overall.
Hmm.
And then for my third one, I also went with Candy Corn. That's just after, after looking at it and it hurting my eyes, I could actually see that it was a pretty good looking AC. So, and you're right, he does look editable, which is maybe why I liked it.
Just fun stuff. Just really fun stuff. So, as we go on, obviously, we're going to have more to say about these once the contest ends, and that'll our live take on that will be, after we come back and the results are in. We're all going to sit down and have more of a discussion on these. But as we're kind of moving right along, just getting some preliminary takes here, I want to take a look at the 3-3 LR division. I look at the Garage from LR especially, and that's just super nostalgic. This was the first AC where we had a release where your AC would come up on a platform, and you went on a mission, and you'd activate and roll out. That was just so fun to see coming out of the garage. So we've got some nice crisp screenshots all around. Thank you for TM, for contributing to this and helping with them. My number one pick from the 3-3 LR series was Facebot slash Facebat. How do you want to say that? Facebat, I believe. This was design number 14. Just fun. There are a lot of heads back in the AC3 gen that set very, very low to your AC, but to use them in an aesthetic, I think is pretty cool. The arms essentially form the eyes in this design, which is great. And part of this is because of the angle I know it's shot at, but just a really abnormal hover design that is just so odd that I think it actually works in aesthetic. You know, I was really sketchy at first in the kind of rustic color as opposed to the gray, but it just works. It's funny. I dig it. The My number two was Pontocrator, Pontocrator, if I'm saying that right. No surprise, a quad, right?
Which
This this was design number 12. This design is equipped with the laser weapon arms, I believe, and also with the missile extensions known as the RM3 in other versions. But I believe they were always like just three volleys. They gave you a lot of missiles to fire off though, and our back unit sitting. It's one of those quad designs that's fun. It's based on a light quad leg, but it's just bristling with energy weaponry. And I mean, well, you've got your missiles there too, just for extensions. But I like the way the cannons are designed and the way they go with the overall aesthetic. It's just fun, pointy design. What can you say? And I guess my third, if you could say aptly named, Skidmark. This one was design number 9. Um, the just design choice here. This is one of those cases, kind of like what Tierson pointed out, of the weapons just blending well with the different grays and the colors used in the design. By this point, we had a bit more control. Last Raven by coloring our weapons, but they still fit. If I recall, this was the stock color for these, and the arms that I remember as the Maori GG. I forget what they were renamed to later on, or if they were Baboon or whatever they were called. I've always loved the look of those, and I really like the heavy arms of the AC3 generation anyway, so that one got my number 3.
Okay, so let's see. 3-3 Last Raven. My number one pick was Endbringer. I just thought that AC looked really cool, which is actually really odd for me because I never really liked that head. But
Yeah.
the whole design here really just works well together. And he just kind of stuck out for me, so that was my number one.
Hmm.
My number two, this shouldn't be too much of a surprise. Considering I as nostalgic as I can get at times. We're going way past previous Gen AC. My number two pick was design number 7, Megatron. I
Yep.
grew up in Gen 1 as a
Yep.
kid. I did not vote for Starscream though. Fuck Starscream. But no, but this was just really cool. I saw this and I'm like, this is definitely ended up in my votes. So that was number 2 was the design 7, the Megatron design.
Yep.
And let me find number 3 here. Hold on a
Hmm.
second.
No problem.
Oh yeah, okay, that's right. I thought it ended up there. I also voted for Face Spot, Face Bat, whatever it's
Yeah,
called. Yeah, that was my number three.
yeah.
Um, I actually like this design, looking past the fact that it's a face, which
Yeah.
is cool. Um, and I've modeled many of high poly and low poly faces, so I can definitely see like where the polygons actually would go in here. And but kind of an incidental thing that it looks like that. But it just looks like a fun design too. I mean, when you have these in a game that is so dominated by, it looks like a biped humanoid, or a reverse joint, or
Hmm.
just something that it just looks individually just its own thing,
Yep.
despite the fact that it also looks like a face from certain angles. I just thought it was pretty neat.
Yeah. And usually, those just stock straight color schemes, it's hard to find just to fit for that without making your AC look dead boring, but it worked. So, I'm going to jump right into, for what was, for me at least, my favorite, the AC2 through AA division. I always smile when I'm thinking of AC2, and when I get to come back and look at some content related to that game. It was just a blast. I enjoyed both 2 and AA, and here I think we've got some designs that kind of reflect a lot of that fun spirit. My number one pick is the hover, right off the bat, design one, Swift BM. Um, I,
Wow.
yes, I told you.
You'll see why I'm saying one when you hear my number one pick.
All right, all right. I really dug this one. Well, for a couple of things. The first thing that caught my eye is I instantly recognized those legs. Those hovers were the ones that you gained from defeating Nine Ball Seraph in the hidden mission after the post end of the game. But the way the rest of the colors contrast, and I especially like the pickups on the accents on the arms, it almost gives like kind of like a gemmed feel, or kind of like some kind of inner lighting that is not there, but that's just how the textures appear. Really dig this design, and I think the dual backs, really fit well with it. As well as like the turn extensions and laser rifle. It's got that high tech, fast, sleek feel. Totally dig it. My number two pick was Bloodstain. Surprise, surprise, a quad. This was design number three. Uh, Bloodstain's fun because he reminded me of a couple of different enemies you ran into in AC2 with the very heavy Emerald style design, despite the Zeo base legs and everything. This one has a really gritty feel to it. It reminded me of that old contrast you always had again of Emerald against Zeo, Crest, versus Crest versus Zeo rather, Emerald against Mirage. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting all these mixed up, but one company that's higher in tech, one that's higher in like a grittier feel with the machine guns and the chain guns and the really heavy bulky artillery, and then one that has sleeker lines to it. This kind of marries both. You got the AK rifle feel, but you've got the sleek feel of those legs, and I love those legs. The Carm, I believe I used those on my stable back in another age. Dig it. Last one was thick skin. I'm sorry.
I think it's hashtag thick skin.
Hashtag thick skin.
Even though hashtag didn't exist when Another Age was out, that was not a thing. But it's right. And I just looked myself because he's one of my picks, and
Yep.
none of the other ones have a hashtag in front of it. So I believe it's hashtag thick skin.
Hashtag thick skin. Good catch. Made me smile just from the name alone. There have been a couple really not funny, just funny threads that have come up in the community about the whole thick skin argument, but it's just funny when you come across something like this. But totally dig the design. This is just an awesome looking heavy biped. The colors mesh really well, especially the green accents, and it looks like it's just bristling with artillery. You got your missile extensions, you got your left arm blade, you got your Zook, you got your rockets and your chain gun. Very cool design. And in my opinion, one of the coolest heads that came out of AC2, the Rock head. I love that one. That was another thing that was on one of my staples. So, props.
Well, and this is why I said. Well, this is why I was surprised. My number one pick was Bloodstained. The quad. I picked the quad higher than you. That was a little surprising,
Wow.
especially Another Age.
Yeah. Wow.
I love these colors.
Yeah.
These colors were almost identical to my one of my staple ACs in Another Age. So nostalgia reasons, I guess. And then this fight is just a cool looking AC. Love Bloodstained. That was my number one.
Hmm.
Let's see my number two. I know, awesome radio right there. Okay, so number two was Design Seven Guardian MK1.
Oh, okay.
I love this. Love the colors. This tank just looked really. This tank looked great. Specifically note that I did not vote for Guardian MK2, which was in the last Raven one. It just didn't look nearly as cool.
Mm,
I think it was camouflage, which I generally don't like.
right.
Um, No, but I love this. Guardian MK1, the tank, just looking badass.
Yep.
And then, of course, like I said, I had thick skin hashtag. Well, it's there. I that almost makes me want to look that up. But
Yeah.
hashtag thick skin for all the same reasons you said. These colors are looking awesome. He looks like he's totally geared up and ready to just take out an entire city.
Yep.
But yeah, the colors are great on this guy. So
Right on. Right on, man. So let's compare and contrast that a little bit. We're saying how much we loved AC2, the feature cut of that, and let's look at the other game in the AC series that had that real feature cut that, in a lot of ways, didn't get many ways didn't get the most favorable review. I'm jumping up to four answer.
uh,
I know. Come on, let's do it though. I went ahead and did picks for this one. I went through all of FA. Got all the achievements done. And played through that one. This wasn't one of my favorite games, at all in terms of design and aesthetic, because I didn't dig a lot of the patterns, I guess, for this gen, except a few stood out. But I think there was still enough content here to vote on. So I'm just going to kick it off right at the start. My number one, and conveniently at the top of the list again, was Royal Guard. A quad utilizing the white glint core made me smile. Exactly what I was when I messed around with during FA.
what
Um,
number is this? Oh,
uh,
actually, he's number one.
very first one, yeah, Royal Guard. It's funny too because this is almost reminding me of some quadruped version of the white glint as far as game. It's really simple, really
That's a
base,
reason
but
not to vote for it. That's a reason why I didn't vote for it.
hey, for me, it's all about that glint core. Those, what is it? That set of, it was 24 or 32. I want to say 24 boosters for OB. It was just glorious. Love it. Again, besides like the core design, really, really basic on the color theme, but the muted just works. And also not because I really enjoyed those quad legs necessarily, but I just like the way the design fits. I dig it. My number two, and this was so close to being my number one, I'll be honest, despite the flamboyant scheme, was Werehound. I instantly thought of Werehound from AC2. This is design number five, by the way. Werehound from AC2 was basically the breaker that would stop, the other competitors in the arena from advancing. He stayed at a certain rank to specifically break other pilots in, or just keep them down. And this kind of follows through with Werehound's spirit. Werehound was a reverse joint AC. He had weapon arms. He was using the machine gun arms though, in AC2. And this design we got here just went crazy with the stabilizers and just really really spiked out the design like crazy. Normally I would not be a fan of this type of marriage of purples and reds and everything, but it looks like you'll get impaled in the darn thing whatever angle you run into it at. So I thought it was fun. My final one was Kizaru. This was design number eight. Also because I was just familiar with just the oddity of this design. There were a few really, really weird designs in FA, but these are the ones that I kind of took a second glance at. Usually these came from Aspina with the designs, and these legs were one of them. I remember giving these like a lot of side angled looks when I first saw it because they were just so odd. But it just works as far as with the extensions and with the way the rest of the design flows and like the stabilizers. It gives it kind of like an illusion of flight, but in a normally short AC too. That's what's so strange about it, even though it has legs. Looks like it should be walking on pegs. So fun stuff to
Mm.
me.
All
That was
right.
it.
Well, initially I wasn't going to even vote in this section, but no, I did decide to. I mean, even though I didn't like the game,
Yeah.
I like how some of these look. Um, let's see. My number one was Werehound.
Hmm.
That it just looks cool.
Yep.
This is a cool looking AC. You can't take that away from it.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
The next one was let's see, America's Lit. It just yeah, what I thought it was neat.
uh,
Cool. You got the flag going there. That must have taken some time.
parody designs for the win. Fun
But yeah,
stuff.
my number three was also Kazaru. Is that how you pronounce it?
Kizaru.
Kazaru. Yeah, what you said. I,
What he
I,
said.
I just thought it was cool looking.
Yeah.
Definitely digging the funky face on that and everything, and just interesting looking AC. And that's all I
Fair
got
enough.
on this gen. Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, you like move on from that. Stop talking about it. This brings us up to the AC5 through Verdict Day division. Just gonna run right through these. we did have tons and tons of entries for this poll, but there was at least enough to pick from. Um, my number one from this one was Midnight. Midnight was design number 7. For those of you who are looking for it. Um, Now, part of this might be because also the garage that was picked for it, the desert terrain that really matches it. But then
Well,
again,
this isn't match AC with terrain. This is a design contest.
it's not. Wait for it. Wait for it. I'm not done. However, the second screenshot, if you'll notice this design, has nothing to do with desert terrain on this one. It's just like in a model kit room, so that shows you the design itself holds up without needing some kind of like background or anything to it, which is fun. Um, I dig the aesthetic. I dig the colors of this design, but this core. I remember when Verdict Day was coming out, I was looking at it, and reminded me of a weird hybrid of the Ray core and those really rounded designs we saw in Project Phantasma. So that was I was always had a bit of attraction to that one. I thought it was really cool, standout. Um, but it's a solid heavy mount you got here. I really like the weaponry. I like the feel of this design. It doesn't suffer from what I call the monkey arm syndrome, what I believe started in 4. Really long
Huh?
arms. Yeah, this is what I nicknamed it. You had these long arms, right? And you had these ridiculously long weapons too, that like barrels look like they should just drag on the ground. And that threw me off so bad. Like you see it a bit in 5 in Verdict Day, but I feel it's been pulled back enough to where it just works. And here it does. It's a short, nice, stocky, bulky, solid design, and I think it communicates itself very well. So major props. My number 2 pick was the UA002. This was design number 4. Surprise, surprise, a quad. But here's a major reason why. It's using one of my favorite legs, I believe the foals. Totally dig those. There's few of the quads that I think really remind me of the way quads used to sit. Okay, uh, this is definitely a set of them. I not only enjoy playing with those, but I like the aesthetic of them. The core picks up that theme too, the kind of multi-layered, multi-armor plated look. Um, Really dig that. You have the arms kind of go slightly off pace with that. They're the T based
Kind
arm.
of monkey arms, maybe.
Yeah, a little bit of monkey arm going on. Just a little bit,
Little monkey arms.
a little bit, a little bit. But you,
Wait, by the way, that's a new thing on the show. The monkey
yeah.
arms.
That's one of those I think I intended to say earlier, but I think we just missed during the 4 and 4A reviews. So we'll use it. We're gonna run with that. Thanks for the trademark. But
Hey,
oh man, but you got the battle rifle setup. The hangers work here. The way the rest of the guns are mounted. I like it. A fun quad, fun design. I like the plated look that was layered up here. My last one was design number 3. That was Techno Viking. You're just going totally electronica, disco, like retro here, whatever you want to call it. Immediately want to jump into a rave theme with this AC. Or something. I don't know. Uh, I like it. It's so flamboyant. It's that kind of makes it funny in its own regard. But the fact that it runs the vendettas on it and has a semi stinger look to it, just fun. Just a fun design. You could tell that this one had some humor in it. So
number
that's
one
right.
for me was design 2. Super. How do you pronounce that, Zels?
Super Astivalis.
Yeah, even though it's like I think it's anime based, or I'll forgive that. But no, it's really cool looking. I dig the overall design here, the frame of the AC, the colors, it all matched really well. So that was number one for me.
Mhm.
I also picked Techno Viking for my second pick. Yeah, for everything you said, just crazy, especially the job, which probably took more of an effort than it looks.
Yeah.
Because it looks like a 5-year-old went way out of line with the colors and just kind of picked a bunch of random colors. But I've built ACs with that in mind over the years.
Hmm.
So no, I really like that one. That was a lot of fun. Number 5 for me was I'm just gonna call it Shimmer. You got some other things in front of that there, but I believe it's just the actual name is Shimmer.
Hmm.
Just thought it was cool looking AC again. Enjoying how the build looks and the colors are pretty awesome. Obviously, a lot of time and effort went into the paint job on this.
Right. Right. And I mean, there you have it. Like we talked a little bit, before the show too about just decals and the amount of control that you get over these days. The way you apply them to your design. So much can be done with them, and the emblem editor is just steadily getting more and more potent, with each AC release we get. So as we go forward, hoping to see designs continue to develop. People post some crazy stuff, both paint-wise and emblem-wise. We've all seen some pretty awesome emblems out there, I think, by this point. But this is just good to see. It was a chance for people to get out, showcase some designs, showcase some paint jobs they've done, and I'm sure we're going to hear way more about it come, the end of this month, near the end of it, like after Christmas. For us, we'll be in the new year by the time we're talking about it.
Right.
But still, it was good to see, and it was a good community event.
You got about 2.5 weeks, I think, left to vote. So
Yep.
yeah, get your votes in, guys. We haven't actually posted ours yet. We're actually talking about them right now, so
Mhm.
we should have them in. I don't know. I'll probably actually post mine tomorrow. But yeah, this is again, this has been a fun contest.
Yeah.
A contest that doesn't seem to end, but it's been a fun one. I'm glad that so many people put in their designs.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Good stuff. So,
that's
well,
about all I got.
I think that marks a really good point for our segue. Just taking a quick break here, when we come back to go straight into a just short discussion about we're sitting with some of the patches, and then to patch or not to patch.
Patches.
What patches? Oh, right. What patches? Right.
Exactly what patches, Namco. What patches?
Oh boy.
Yeah, don't. Oh, yeah, you'll hear about it when we come back.
Okay, more to come. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back. You are logged back into Raven's Voice. This is our Saturday, according to Saturday for once, December 7th edition. We are here talking about the AC patch changes. This is Ellis again, and here with Tierson.
I am here.
Still hanging strong. So as we, in our last segment, we talked a little bit about the AC design contest. Links are going to be up for that in the description here. Those of you who want to go check that out, get your voting in. You got till Christmas. Go vote. We said that we were going to pick up talking about some of the patch changes that have been happening. Of course, mainly on JP side, it's not like we can throw confetti in the air and celebrate that here for international side because it's just not the case right now. But still, these are important changes, relevant changes that have been released by From. And we just want to talk a little bit. We don't want to get too lost in the syntax and everything here because, well, there's basically almost a 30-page thread right now in ACL about it. There's plenty of content. In fact, we encourage you, if you want to talk about this or really get into some of the nitty-gritty, go to the thread and discuss it. I'll be sure to place a link in the description here if you want to go check that out too. And bad on me, I should have looked on Reaching Perfection, a few other spots. There's links. If I find something relevant, I'll post that too. Places where you guys can go get engaged with this stuff because it's there and there's plenty of talk about it already. So, but looking at what we have here, not long ago we had an announcement about a slew of patches that were going to be planned for AC, and we had people kind of giddy for a while, like, oh my gosh, we're going to get all these at once because our first patch for Verdict Day here on the international side was, pretty good speed. But it's turned out, not to be the case, and JP side is getting a very steady stream of updates, and there's still a lot we're waiting on. But while we're in the waiting period, we can at least see the changes that are here. Don't know if we're going to get all these in one huge press, one gigantic ball. It's probably going to be the case.
I'm pretty sure we will.
Yeah.
How did they not do that?
Yeah.
We haven't gotten any of them yet, so how did they not release them all at once? They all kind of go together.
Yeah, you could get some kind of crazy hybrid. I don't know, but that's the most likely solution, to this scenario. And just looking at what we have, some changes just odd. Some I think people just didn't expect, or other changes that could potentially, shift other weapons, for really good use, or slight changes to, effectiveness of some weapons. So I just want to just home in on those a little bit. Just taking some of the major points we have from each. I believe starting with point oh 0.03.
Let me talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, kick into it.
We did talk about this extensively last week in our Thanksgiving show. I mean, that was the main topic.
Yeah.
of the evening. Not our food, with the exception of Nana's Red Bull. Definitely grabbing everyone's attention as he was trying to eat that. But we talked about this a lot. Now, last week when we were talking about this, point zero 0.06 had not been announced. In fact, I think it announced right when the show was released. What we had recorded a couple days
Yeah,
previous to that because it was Thanksgiving that week, and so our usual recording night was obviously spent doing other things. So that has dropped since, and so now we actually have a full frame. These patches were all kind of put together. I mean, they all were released within a couple weeks of each other in Japan, and they all kind of go together, which is why I'm pretty sure we'll end up getting all the end results of this all at once. They're obviously trying a lot of things here, but anyways, and I specifically noted last week that I wasn't going to say much about it until we seen what point zero 0.06 was going to be, and unfortunately, point zero 0.06 did not change a lot of things that probably should have to level out a lot of these additional changes that we see in 03, 04, and 05. So. Um, a little bit of discussion on this in last week's thread, but overall, the greater discussion has been like Zealous said in a thread that's going on ourrecordlegacy.com in the general discussion section.
hmm
Um, I really think that overall, what we're seeing is that we're seeing a change to the game. I mean, obviously, when you have patches, things are changing, but I really think that there's a change in the direction that From Software's taking with this. Some of these
yeah,
things are fixes, some of them are minor tweaks to make things more effective or to work more properly, which is generally what a patch is supposed to do. But they're really just changing elements of the game, and that's pretty
hmm
controversial. Some like it, some hate it, and we'll discuss those things as we hit them here. But we're not going to talk about every single change. We're not going to
right.
talk. They made this a little stronger. They made this a little faster. We're not going to talk about all that when it comes to the weapons or specific parts or legs. But we're going to be highlighting some of the more dramatic changes to the game with these patches.
Right on, right on. So, I think something relevant to look at as we go into this is how some of these changes and how some of the changes in the patches were made bridges in a way. And by bridges, I mean taking something that was changed and then modifying it further, and it keeps alternating each patch. Specifically the thing that I'm going to zoom in on here a bit is the plink damage, as we like to call it, aka ricochets, and the damage reduction therein. In point oh 0.02, we had a shift in that. And that shift specifically was, to make your plinks more effective. Here in point oh 0.03, you have another shift again that it specifically said, as Franz noted, it's the damages between 1.02 and 1.01. So it's like they're really, really playing with this, where ricochet should be, exactly what ineffective damage, quote unquote, should mean in context as opposed to, weapons you're hit by, and how those fall in, KE, CE, and like TE defense formulas. And it's interesting. I think anytime you have a running trend with any kind of change, especially a mechanics change like this, now this is not just a weapon. Keep that in mind because this will affect roughly about any weapon if you think about it, in some way, at least if the defenses match up. Um, we saw a little bit of this, I think, for Vanilla 5. Actually, it's probably more than one case. I know one that comes to mind for me was for, I believe, for Lampboard. Rifle had multiple changes that were going along with the patches as it went on. But here we've got a specific mechanic that's they're continuing to adjust, and we don't know if we'll see it continue to flip and go over again. But we've heard the internet, at least some of the international, or some of the U.S. player bases, like thought pool on this, like how we feel, ricochet damage is sitting and everything. And I just really wish we'd get like the exact JP take on some of the Ys and where they feel this damage is sitting, like as opposed to what's been run on that end. I don't have JP version. That Tierson, I don't believe you do either. I know we've got some members. I believe Godlike Nomra, a number of people in our community have picked up JP version, and they do come over and they're sure to talk to us about those changes that happen. And it's good to have both perspectives, but um, I know personally, we don't have that kind of light, into it, and so without commentary, without actually playing among that crowd, it's some of the changes that come just kind of make you raise a bit of an eyebrow. And this one with ineffective damage specifically, because it can affect all weapons, I think it's pretty important.
Yes, yes, and I think overall, I think that the ineffective and the ricochets of weaker weapons when it comes to the defense that they're taking on, I think has been a little bit too harsh,
Mm,
and I think that overall, they're in this particular area, I think they're making sound and steady changes to change that positively.
hmm For sure. The other short light I want to shed here, speaking of positive changes, we had our whole show dedicated to weapon arms a while back, and we were talking about we wanted to monitor how, if any way, these were going to change. And this is one of the other two notes I want to point out about what we had occurring in point oh 0.03. There is a column regarding the weapon arms, specifically the sniper cannon classes, the laser cannon, and the heat cannon. The sniper cannon weapon arms got a boost of AP. You got a shortened reload on the heat cannons. You got a reduced lock time for the laser cannons, as well as reduced energy rate, and decreased charge time. Interesting changes. I think we probably had some people that were looking for drastic overhauls, like in all categories for each, but it's like they took a category and kind of touched on each one. So there's one line of concurrence I can see. There's been a kind of general sentiment, at least I know between you and I, Tiersten, we've talked about them, about potential improvements for weapon arms, besides nerfs. When Vendetta got slapped in the head and he got his range knocked down. But here you go. There is a genuine push and an improvement for set arms. So I think that shows we kind of agree on something at least.
Well, just give them their shoulder slots like they deserve, and then I'll be generally a happy guy, and I'll take my grade up from what I give it a D plus.
Yeah, I think
That'll
so.
definitely put it in the C range. There's absolutely no good reason why these things don't have shoulder slots.
Yeah,
None.
no,
Fix it.
they're missed. They're dearly missed. I think the other note was actually something that didn't have to do with ACs. For point oh 0.03, it was more about the conquest bases that you had. There was a general, I guess, decrease in some of like the endurance values for a number of the maps and just some like the structures like a Big D tunnel, Dozer, Desert. List goes on and on to those, but there are just a lot of notes about those. In shifting it and the type of penalties that were incurred. When you went to attack. These types of things. That shows, they're at least keeping an eye on the invasion modes and I guess the conquest battles, which is a good thing too, because besides the balance aspect of the parts, keeping your gameplay mode running is pretty critical too. I think players would have different opinions on how exactly to keep that running most efficiently. Um, we've had a lot of counter lines saying you should have changed this. Why'd you focus on this instead? You don't need to be looking at that, but it's there. And gosh, I didn't count the exact number, but there's at least like what 7 or 8 maps that were altered for that. So
Hmm.
yeah. So things to look out for. Don't know if that'll be tweaked again in the future. Usually, at least historically, when I've seen these changes, they tend to come up, and after a tweak, they don't mess with them a whole lot. It could be wrong, could turn around and happen again, but unsure. So, but I guess with that in mind, that really leaves us on a path, I think, for the rest of the patches onward, focusing on parts, mostly specifically weapons, but there are a few key, booster changes and whatnot down the road. But not, quite yet. It jumps us right into point oh 0.04 with some of the changes we had there, in the various reloads and attacks. I think some of the major things, I guess, that I look at in this one were some of the alterations to sniper rifles. Um,
Yeah, a lot of sniper changes. It's kind of weird that I'm looking specifically over the notes here.
yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong in this, but point zero 0.04 I think has like one change to one set of legs, and then we're talking weapons. We're talking
hmm
rifles, sniper rifles, battle
Yep.
rifles. But like for some reason, that set of legs got stuck into this patch. When 2 or 3 weeks later, they just change a whole bunch of legs. I just thought that was kind of odd.
Yeah, it was a really general alteration with the reverse joint heavy class, which was neat. It was almost like a precursor, setting up, for modifying, the rest of the legs that were there. But yeah, rifle crazy, and not only with rifles, also just some slight adjustments. Not slight, people would probably call big adjustments with sniper cannons, specifically, the shortening of the reload, uh,
Mm.
the arms, and some of the messing with the the mechanics of not just like your aiming, but the speed you can snap these shots off. A lot of changes here, ranging from power, accuracy, distance, and I think this is going to play into a lot of players' game in interesting ways. When you couple changes like this with knowing like key, gameplay mechanics like increasing your, velocity with speed, like you're moving forward and everything. That always leaves a lot more room for maneuverability and like tactical changes and even design changes you might want to do too. So the stuff's important to pay attention to. Some players might feel, oh, why should I look? All this stuff's overwhelming, too many things. Like, let me get my hands on it. Yeah, that's part of it. But I think having some kind of introspective of changes that are coming is a really good thing because you can look at where your design's sitting now. And while some of it is guesswork, okay, you can start to at least get in your mind, some of the general things that might work, might not work, which you might have to change. So, I look at stuff like this and I just say, man, it's a tragedy. All these notes is probably just gonna all pile on us like snow at once. Then you won't even get to swim through and go find Frosty the Snowman. A change you really like somewhere else in a previous patch. So,
I don't think that made any sense what you just said.
thank you.
Frosty the Snowman. I'm listening to him like, wait, what?
I'll elaborate a bit. I'll say this: finding your needle in the haystack, that change that you really enjoyed down in a deeper patch, that you may very well not get to see due to the patches getting released as a mass lump. So,
I don't know.
me not making sense.
No,
Gotta love it.
I'm used to huge patches. I mean, I'll
Yeah.
reference my experience with WoW once again. I mean,
Hmm.
patches there. I mean, this is nothing compared to major patches there.
Right.
So I'm used to having to spend hours going through all the notes and stuff. So
So there you go. No props there. Um, that jumps us kind of right up into where we're sitting with 0.05. Again, you had a setup with a general some general changes for like quad legs. Generally, this is funny because it's hilarious what happens in next patch. Those we'll talk about it. Quad legs. There's an improvement for KE defense. In tanks, you get a KE and CE buff as well. There's a few weapons like battle rifle alterations, but it's the booster. I think it's the boosters
that's
here.
the highlight of .05 is
Yeah,
what they're doing to boosters.
yeah, and this is what you really got to point at. We said in the past, especially for games like Last Raven and Ninebreaker and Nexus, your BGR combo mattered so very much to having a successful design. Your BGR combo. Um, Obviously, we don't have radiators now, so that kind of leaves you to BG. By BG, we mean your booster generator combo. Plays a ton into whatever you're looking at with the movement of your AC and your general, strat for how you can maneuver and get around. And these changes are pretty substantial. You had we had three specific lines of modification. That was the high accelerations, the high power, and the low consume types. And it's interesting here. You're talking about improved outputs. For high excel, low consumption. You're talking about uh, reduction of like high boost consumption too. And a lot of this plays into where people start to discuss, permaglide builds, how that can enable that or how you can get more efficiency or better speed out of your AC. But three major categories that got some huge modifications. I mean, it never seems like much when you read it on paper. Weight reduction. Reduce of energy consumption or improved output. That means worlds. Worlds.
Right, right. There's a lot of debate going on about this right now. I've actually seen some heated debate about this as well. Um, you know, I don't know. I actually, I think I'm a little bit for this change.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was I don't want to say huge leap, but there was definitely a leap from 5 to Verdict Day as far as energy consumption versus your boosters. I thought it was an appropriate one. I thought it was in the right direction. I mean, I'm not really I don't
Yeah.
want to say too much about this until I really get my hands on it.
Right.
This is, I think I'm for this, but I definitely agree with concerns that this could be breaking things and making things way too easy.
It's funny. I don't know if I want to attribute part of this to the appearance of Black, aka White, Glint, however you want to say it. We'll just say Black Glint, as a herald, I guess, in a way to the throwing us back into a higher speed game, or having more of those resources available, similar to what we had presented to us in four, in four answer. I see changes like this and part of it makes me want to think that there's a sentiment, at least in JP side, that really, really misses a lot of the high-speed play and just resources being available to you. Historically, with expansions in AC, we get a chance to go a little more nuts. There's always more weapons. There's new cores. There's new like parts categories, so we can get out there and we can get really experimental with what we use. But with the kind of basis, some of the changes are starting to provide now. Hey, there's a lot of potential to really go nuts with that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's wild. I know. Now, you compare this, okay, to where we sit in point oh 0.06 with the changes. And I was mentioning this a moment ago, how funny it was about the alteration to defenses for quad legs. It's like, well, here's the KE buff, and then we have the KE cut, coming back down again. So it shows we're still playing. These numbers are still being tweaked and played with a lot, and it's not a knock for me. I said, okay, knock them down a bit. Fortressing up and everything is not the only viable way, to quad and stuff like that. I understand. I don't necessarily mind the defensive changes, but we also had some changes, some other buffs to tanks that happened too. But I always laugh when I see an increase and then take it back down again, or go up here and then knock this down again. It's just this really odd scale that I don't know if I'll ever understand in from studios.
I think that's why we got the patches the way we did. I mean,
Yeah.
they let it play for a couple of weeks and they analyze the data. However they do that via tactically or maybe with just a couple rats. I don't know.
Yep.
And then they're like, okay, no, that's not going to work.
Pretty much knock it down. I think some of the big things we have here that I'm going to come at, like we had a generator change, the Suzumushi, big one. We had an energy amplifier. This was another big one. In fact, it got freaking renamed. I believe it's the Yamasuge now. And I mean the buff on the amp itself was really what had the modifier to it. And there's been a ton of talk about this, what this means for playing with pulse knuckles and everything else, and how amps actually come into play. A massive reduction for the heat machine gun. Just a number of really interesting changes, and I think these were more substantial in a lot of ways because of just how many types they affected. And on top of it all, you had another booster change here, on the high powers, the H11, the L13s.
Hmm.
I'd say just looking overall at what we have listed for patches and what's available and what's being talked about, I think between 5 going into 6 is, at least in my opinion, one of the biggest changes we have.
Yeah, I mean, this is where I was waiting for the other shoe to drop at point 0.06.
Yeah.
In particular, I thought that there was going to, and there was some tank love here,
Yep.
but not in some of the areas that it needed.
Mm-hmm.
At least not with the changes that came with 0.05. In fact, I think I all of a sudden was like, all right, look, this obviously with boosters, you're going to have to do something with. Well, and since there are only tank legs and there's no more hovers,
Yeah.
you're going to have to do something with the legs that come with boosters. This has to be leveled out,
Mm-hmm.
and the defense changes. I don't think really covers that. Movement changes, which is kind of funny because while everything got a little bit more mobile with BD, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
in general, the only thing that did was tanks. Tanks felt worse. They felt slower, and I guess they're happy with tanks right where they are, even when they boosted up everything else.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. I've had a gripe about tanks and BD since it's come out, and it's like, okay, well, we're going to make everything faster. Yay,
Yeah.
except for tanks. What?
It makes you wonder. You have some of the booster changes, and the gen changes, and you want to say, well, they're going to be leg changes with that, and then you get a weird category like, oh no, plasma missile change instead. Like, what we have here, like, oh, modify the C missiles more. I found the C missile one weird too because I'm like that's fine in my opinion, like the way they sit. Some of these are just odd, and I know a lot of this is reflective of data that's being gathered, from JP side, how it's played. I'm sure there's a look as well at international side, but really curious to see what Namco Bandai is going to do with all of this, and well, most importantly, when, the win of where we're actually going to get it and get up to date.
Well, they cannot give it to us, but they're not going to give us part of it.
Right.
I've never even heard of that. That would be brand new gaming. And correct me if I'm wrong, guys. And maybe this has happened before, where a patch has come on the JP side, and then we only got part of that patch. in the U.S. Like, I mean, when you change some of this, I get the general feeling I'm thinking is that they're going to change all of it, especially when it comes to part stats. I mean, I'm assuming grasping for some sort of balance here. I mean, AC5 and VD have been so balanced in comparison to previous other games. I mean, you can almost see the formula that they're using in pinpoint it. And in this case, they're really just changing a lot. Um, yeah, I mean,
Right.
all four of these patches together, it is a lot. I mean, again, with .06, you're getting more changes. Rifles and battle rifles are getting tweaked. Here you get the heat machine guns, a brand new category in this one. They are seriously reducing the weight on
Yeah.
these weapons, which does not make a heck of a lot of sense to me. I I don't think it's justified at all. I thought the weapons themselves are fairly balanced. I have no problem with them. I'm a big fan of them. So, awesome. My lightweight's going to get a little bit more room. But trust me, I mean, if you play with biped lightweights, you'll take every single pound you can get. So yeah, give me a couple hundred. I'm fine with it, but I don't think it's necessary.
By all means, by all
No,
means.
what's that?
I said by all means, it's, all this is just really contributed to a pool of thought that I've just been putting together for a while, and I'm kind of glad we get a chance to talk about it here a little bit about, patched AC against non-patched AC in the past, to patch or not to patch. I think it's a funny name for it. But before I jump into that, though, I was gonna ask, did you have a further note you were about to mention about '06, or were you?
My final note is
Yeah.
pray for tanks. Pray for tanks. It's a game. I
Oh
mean,
man.
you know, five finally, and there have been some spotlights here and there over the years in various other games, but five definitely tanks had their day, and it was good. And and I'm not a tank lover. I have a tank now. I had a tank in five, and I probably wouldn't have if they had not given tanks what they had in five. I thought they were solid. I thought they were legitimate in how solid they were. Um,
Right.
and what are you doing? How do especially for the tank lovers, guys? I
Hmm.
enjoy them. I'm a tank lover though, but man, I'm sorry. I'll say I'm sorry for From Software on this. This is
Where will it
I
go?
don't. And maybe there's something I'm missing here in all this, but
Yeah.
I mean those defense buffs that is not the consolation prize you should be getting.
Well, we'll see. And again, um, people might need to refresh, especially refresh me a little bit on this. I can't remember if From make a specific announcement what's going to be like their last patch for an AC, or if they just release and go.
I'm pretty sure it's just release and go. I mean, if something needs to be changed, they're not going to be like, "Oh no, we said it was our
Yeah,
last one." So, I mean, so even if they announced it, does that even mean anything?
probably not. I just didn't know if we were going to have any kind of block like this. Like, okay, here's what we're supposed to technically cut, but no, in context, that wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense. Just with an ongoing, dynamically developing game like that, you want to keep a pace on the changes. So it's a bit of a to be continued about tanks. I think a lot of people are doubtful that some of those various changes will actually come, but I kind of look at that again. That this is a specific gameplay aspect. The whole patch and non-patch argument. I'm bringing this up because there is a long, long era of Armored Core where actively patching the game did not exist. The most online interaction you could have, essentially, like if especially if you were on like NA side for things, was to get on Kai to go play versus against people. I mean, you could. I mean, there's plenty you could find out there just about gameplay and everything, but changes actually released from it. So it didn't happen. We did not get that until PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, generation hit for AC. And I just want to look at that a minute. Out of the box AC versus a constantly evolving model. When we had AC out of the box let's zoom in on SL a second. We were given the MG800. Okay,
Uh,
utterly insane machine gun. All right, and then you were given your eventually in three, you had your stealths, your stealth extensions you could turn on, and then later on, some talked about ECMs. ECMs came more into play in X, but I'm just going to keep that spotlight in SL a minute. We had this extremely powerful weapon, MG800, and yeah, okay, if there was a patch, yeah, that probably would have been adjusted, but you know what? It wasn't. And the community, how did we handle it? in a competitive setting, that weapon was stopped. Like you went to in-person tournaments, that thing wasn't used. It was the quintessential ban that was pointed out. There was never a gentleman's note about it. It was what was cut once things were figured. Okay, this weapon is problematic, and I'm really interested in this about putting AC in the hands of the community in a way, and then having all the changes on the part of From, or allowing them, to be retroactive on that. It's a real contrasting model, and if any of you have thoughts on it, hey, send them in, drop us a line, or feel free to post in the relevant thread. For this week's discussion we'll have here. I'm interested to see, or hear rather, what a lot of you think. Do you feel one model was better, e.g., it was better not to patch AC, or it's better that we do have patches, or is there something else you'd like to see entirely? So,
Well, okay. Let me say first off,
yep.
um, patching. When you have a scenario like this is obviously a bit of a campaign that they're doing.
Hmm.
What do you guys think? What would you like to see us change? That is stupid. That is pandering to the worst degree. I don't understand. I mean, typically when you see something like this, you see it because a game's doing very badly. And it's like, hey, look, all right, you guys don't like what we did, so how would you do it? I mean, this is a lot of what we saw with AC4. This is why we ended up with the monstrosity that we had with Gen 4, was because we were trying to build a game that the fan base wanted. You guys are the developers. You've done a really good job with this over the years for the most part. Fuck them. All right, seriously, you don't look. You don't let the kids run the classroom. All right, you just that. I don't know any other way to put it. You
Hmm.
take their suggestions and you look at their suggestions and then you make educated guesses off of that. This whole thing, like, I get why they're doing what they're doing here, but it was stupid for them to do it in the first place. When you like, oh, here we have a patch and we're going to change this, and okay, that didn't work, so now we're going to change it back 2 weeks later. Come on, what what are you doing?
You,
Do your job. You get paid for this. Do your job and test this stuff out. Don't put the community through it. Don't that's just bad. That just shows weakness. That just
beta
Yeah, I mean, I'm
test.
sorry. I'm getting a little upset about this.
Yeah, yeah.
I've got a lot of feels going on here. So, but do you understand what I'm saying on that?
I do.
It's just horrible.
And I want to seize in this note a second about you touched on this about From's vision for Armored Core. This is one thing that got me into the series, why I was so interested in it. First I had never seen a mech title like this in the first place, but it was because From had a specific edge and specific vision for this series, in that they were really making a game that they wanted to, that they felt, here's some of our best creative instincts, I guess, on display. Or here's a game we're really interested in playing. This is like our idea. Check it out. This is what it is. Here it is. And as flat and pancake as that sounds, I love that approach, because for me, I was just really refreshed to see a group that was willing to take those chances, to release a creative idea that they were really vested and interested in, and to give that to people and say, the players can make plenty of this. I mean, you make tournament scenes or whatever else, you're probably going to discover things that, we didn't intend at first. This always happens, with games. It's the player base that tends to always surprise the developer. There's nothing finer than seeing, your creation tested in a way that you didn't at first expect. But it was that bold resolve, I think, was just fantastic, and I always applauded, From for, and all the press and the reviewers and IGN, oh, the controls are too hard, you can't adjust to this. It's like, but that didn't get. They were missing the crux of what made the game amazing, And AC took its lumps in the mainstream reviews, there's your 4 out of 10, there's your 5 out of 10, horrible controls, so on and so forth. But we knew it was a different story for the fans that were into it, because there was an incredibly deep game if you got over that curve. And
Well,
okay.
and most people who reviewed it would say, hey, if you're an Armored Core fan and you
Mhm.
like this is going to be awesome.
Yeah, and
But if
you're right.
you're casual and you're trying it out, then that's what they reviewed it on.
And and they would always mention that curve. I think that's a very valid point, to mention it's there, and it's still there to a degree. There's a lot you have to understand about AC at the start, before you really start going nuts and things. You can jump in, but there's a lot to get, and just a lot of things to kind of get in your head first before you start walking through the process. But I kind of wonder about that vision. Here we go. The releases of AC that we get now, obviously, we usually count on patch seasons or seasons coming out from that will change gameplay mechanics as they go. And we've seen fan polling. This is all over the Blizzard forums. Those of you who've kept up with Diablo 3, I think that's a fine example of trying to interpret the fan base and the changes and what happens internally and what happens externally. It's wild, And I think there's just an easy X factor of just a tangle you can get in if you get too far involved in that with direct input. Personally, I'm very interested in a product that a creator can bring and say, this is like my brainchild for things. It's like one of the most creative things I can give. Check it out, play it. This is the best I
Right.
can do.
Well, yeah, and I mean, that's kind of my point.
Yeah.
Look, again, it's not that I don't want them to take our input. I mean, obviously, even as a U.S. fan for Armored Core, I'm kind of used to them not giving a shit about what I think. But it's just it just the whole way this has been introduced and what this is all about. It just it's like, okay, guys, throw your ideas at us because we don't have any. If you don't think things need to be fixed, then don't fix them. Don't
Right.
And you're asking for trouble by doing this. Next, months down the road, when the player base is bitching about why this doesn't work and that doesn't work, and you think it's fine, well, why should the player base care? You should be listening to them. They're the ones that are dictating how this game is going to go, right? I mean, that's what you've taught them. So when they stop playing because you're not listening to them anymore and you're not letting them dictate how things are going to go, you've got no one to blame but yourself. That's my whole point. That's what bothers me about this.
Mm.
This game has been out for 3 months, and you are already retooling it to this degree. You are already asking them, well, what did we get wrong? What the fuck is wrong with you? What are you doing? This game has barely been out. And you think that you've dropped the ball so badly so soon? Maybe you should have tested it out a little bit first. Maybe you shouldn't have changed the formula from 5 as much as you did. If your opinion on your own game is that weak at this point, then you do need to change some things. But you're just looking so From is looking so weak here.
Yeah,
Just
I think
just looking so bad.
I think there's a lot, obviously from needs to look at themselves with how they approach this model. The reason why I don't believe that cohesiveness is completely irrelevant is because it just shows us patterns of I think why some of these changes happen. If the
When last time they went to the player base so much like this, we got AC4.
yeah, I thank you very much. If the fan sentiment is such a focus with that, and if it shows that there's a large agreement by players of these things, and you get a product like that, I mean, I think something could be said for that. Shoot,
Yeah, you need to stop listening to them.
there you go. So,
And that's my point. Now, look, this is why I posed the question, and everybody kind of blew
mm,
it off this week. I posed the question during our Thanksgiving show: how much of this has to do with sales? And that's still my opinion. That the bottom line of this is sales, because sales, while decent in Japan, I mean, it obviously especially didn't go very well here in the Xbox side in the U.S. And didn't go all that great for the U.S. side for the PS3 as well. Maybe they just expected a lot more sales, and
maybe.
maybe they feel that they need to pander at this point because this is just what it looks like. And hey, come on, and, we'll drop it down 10, $15, and hey, we're going to change all this and this, and tell all your friends, and that's why I don't think there's a cohesiveness, because if the Japanese player base was as happy with this as I think they probably thought they should have been, it probably would have sold a hell of a lot better, and they
Mm,
probably wouldn't be changing a thing.
mm,
Nothing, at least nothing this major.
mm. So sensible, sensible. But falls right back into another thread we talked about a long time ago about the AC, AC's identity, what it is. I still feel it's swimming for that, and still trying to define itself in this era of gaming. A lot's still to be written about what it's going to do in the current gen. We've jumped PlayStations now. We've got the new Xbox, and there's no sign of AC yet. While we're bound to see it at some point.
It'll be there.
We're bound to
They've
see it.
already, they've already been tapping Namco to get some kind of response from the
Yeah.
U.S. player base on the next Armored Core. There will be an Armored Core 6.
Yeah. So it's still a wonder, with all the stuff we have in the air, exactly how that can pan out, and how From will work those things that they can get. I would love to see them march out the door with a strong model for AC again and say, "This is Armored Core. This is what we've intended. Check it out, play it."
Maybe take off the Darth Vader mask when you do it.
Maybe. It might be effective, but I don't know if they'd want to see all the tubing and everything.
No,
It's up
I
to you.
mean, I'm talking about those videos that they do, and they're all like, no,
Yeah, you're right.
this stuff. Good
But there's a
God.
there's a luchador though. Come on, you gotta love that.
But
Regardless, so
I went from software after 17 years to act a little bit more like grown-ups about this and be a
yeah.
little mature on your franchise game.
I
And so
mean,
3 months in, dude,
3 months
3 months
in.
into this game, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is we have to change everything now."
Yeah. So
Why? The only thing I can think of is sales. Especially when it comes to these things like the boosters and some of these other changes. There's looking weak as hell here.
from we miss your boldness. So we miss it. So well, hey, I think that's a wrap on at least our main topic for this week. Just you know what? Your plug master here, plug master Flex. You got anything?
Yeah. If I'm way off base on this, if there's something that's been on posted over in the Japanese section about this,
Oh,
yeah, please let me know how wrong I am because right now, like I said, they're looking weak as hell, and this is worrisome because we're going into another gen. The last time we went into the next gen, we got AC4 and Jesus. So yeah. Yeah, let us know. Will you email or post? You can
yeah.
email at ravensvoiceacl@gmail.com or go ahead and go to armorcorelegacy.com, go to the forum section, find our dedicated section over there. It's near the top.
Hmm.
And find the post for this video, for this podcast, for this week, and let me know how wrong and stupid I am. I love to hear it. Good or bad, I love to hear it. It's Raven's Voice. We love to hear back from you guys.
Good stuff.
Whether you agree or disagree, and we're still looking for some more cookie recipes. So
Still waiting. Still looking. So
uh, yeah, there it is.
good deal. All right. Well, hey, everyone, thank you for tuning in. You have a wonderful holiday season if you're traveling, whether you're staying home. Look out for ice or anything else. If you're not having to deal with ice, chill, enjoy family, friends, whatever you have around you, and have a good one. Enjoy Armored Core. We will catch you when we return, but in the meantime, we will have our interim starting for some retro AC flashbacks. We're going to have some notes on that, and we're just going to have a series that's going to be running kind of over the season. So hopefully you have something to listen to while you're sitting by the fireplace. So, in any
Yeah,
case,
we'll be back in January.
yeah,
You'll still hear from us, but and we'll still be around forums, but
yep,
nothing on new topics or anything. We're just gonna go five part Gen 3 for
yep.
you for a while. So
So, retro tunes on the way, but till then, stay safe and take it easy. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you later.
happy holidays.